Hi, this is Dara, and I am here with a non-binary update. I was thinking that it would be a good idea for me to share something that um, I used to be really confused by when I was a kid, really embarrassed by, and I don't think I ever told any adult about this until I was probably almost 30, which would have been about 13 years ago. And it's still something that doesn't come up a whole lot, but if it does, I am much more comfortable sharing it because I think it's really relevant to my story. So when I was a kid, I had, I guess I didn't know this is what it was called, but I had an alter ego. I made up a persona for myself that was strictly all up here in my head. And in fact, I created this alter ego, and some of you probably know what I mean by this, but it wasn't something I even really felt like I was conscious of. Like, I did it, but a part of me was also like, you know what, I'm gonna kind of pretend I'm not really doing this because I don't know why I'm doing this. I just am gonna do it and la la la, it's fine. The only time I would really think about my alter ego would be at night before I go to bed. And so my alter ego, I had a name for this person. And so the name of this person was Tom McCormick. And there's really a reason I picked the name Tom, and there's a specific name, there's just a specific reason I picked the name McCormick. So when I was a kid, there was this TV show called Dukes of Hazzard, and I loved it. I also loved Luke Duke, and that part of me that didn't quite know what was going on really probably kind of wished I was Luke Duke. And so the guy who played, this was really intricate, I'm surprised by my younger self sometimes. The guy who played Luke Duke, his name was Tom Wopat, and so I picked the name Tom for that reason. And then I don't know what year Footloose came out off the top of my head, but I think that's the year that Tom McCormick became a real alter ego for me, because McCormick came from the main character of Footloose, played by Kevin Bacon, which is Ren McCormick. That was the name of his character. And so whatever age I was then, I think I was probably 10, somewhere around there, 10 or 11. Then I made Tom McCormick, and that became my alter ego's name. And so what I would do is any movies or TV shows that I saw where I thought there was a girl in it who I thought was cute and I was, it turns out, attracted to, I would pretend I was the main character in whatever movie. So, you know, at this point we're talking about Dukes of Hazzard. So it would be Daisy Duke in Footloose, the female character played by Laurie Singer. And as I got older, I did that for so many movies that come to mind. Even as I got to be like 13, I was still doing it with Bull Durham comes to mind. I liked Susan Sarandon in that movie. What started all of this was when I was 8, and I really loved Michelle Pfeiffer in Grease too, but I didn't have the Tom McCormick thing going on yet. I just kind of pretended I was the cool writer in my head. Before I'd go to sleep, I'd just kind of think about the movie and I'd pretend I was the main guy character. So as I got older, I think because I created Tom McCormick, not only did I have to stick strictly with the plot of the movie or the TV show, but I also could be more creative and think about the different ways that I could be. My main theme was that I was a hero to the girl or the female or the woman in the movie or TV show. And so what was going on as a grown-up as an adult when I look back on this is that for one, I was definitely having sexual orientation confusion. I sincerely did not know that I could be, well, what I thought at the time, female, and be attracted to girls or just like girls or just think they're cute. I grew up in the 80s. I lived on a lot of army posts, and so and a lot of them were in the South, and so there was no examples out there for me to know that this was something, and any examples of that were made fun of and teased. So this just was a way for my brain to kind of make sense of it, was for me to kind of create myself into a guy that I could then be able to interact with girls the way I wanted to. So when it comes to gender identity, this is something that I didn't realize until, like I've mentioned to you before, even over the last 3 years, that there was also a gender identity factor in there as well. For me, when I look at it, I know that for myself, I wasn't saying to myself as a kid, I actually wish I was a boy. I wanted to be a boy because I wanted to be able to think girls were cute, and that was the extent of it. But I still, some of the more masculine traits of these characters and the way they looked, the way they acted, those are things that present day, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Like, that does connect with me more. I do most of the time relate better to the male characters in movies, but my non-binary feelings, I know there's a difference between that. Like, it stops at a certain point. It's not, oh, and then therefore I am a guy. I feel like I'm not a girl or a guy, so I'm able to now I can be able to talk about Tom McCormick and be like, you know what, when I was a kid, I made up this person who I would imagine I was because I couldn't figure out how to do it. We didn't have online video games back then where I could create an avatar and be that avatar online, so that was the closest of how I could do that at that time. So I wanted to put that out there as a part of my personal story, because I am curious, like, if other people have done that kind of thing or did that kind of thing. But it also makes what I call little Dara from back then really happy that this is something I can be honest about. I mean, I can just remember as a kid just thinking I was so strange that this is the kind of thing I would do. And like I said, it's almost like I almost didn't even admit it to myself that I was doing it. I just did it. Eventually, I stopped. I think it was probably when I started high school or a little bit before that, that I was just, I just decided this is just too strange, and I'm just going to pretend this part of me doesn't exist. So now here it is. It feels very nice and healing to be able to say that is a totally cool part of myself, and now things make much more sense. So I hope that is something that can help some of you. And it was fun to be able to talk to you about this. So that's it for this non-binary update. I'll be back again with more, of course. See ya.